and welcome back. So I hope you're gonna enjoy today's video. I am going to be doing a book recommendation tag that Steph Bover or something like that made. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, very sorry. Steph made this book recommendation tag and I decided to, do it, to answer the questions of the tag. So let's get straight into it. I hope you are gonna enjoy. The first question of this tag is a book you tell people is your favorite, and I have one single book that I literally tell everyone is my favorite. Like if someone asks me, what is your favorite book? This is the book that I'm gonna be showing them. And it is The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. This is like my all-time favorite book. Like, I'm not even lying. I haven't read it since last year though. So it has been like 4 months since I last read it. So it has been a while. I should reread it again. But I've reread it a lot of times. I tabbed it too. This is about Alessandra, and Alessandra is tired of being the second choice, second daughter. So she decides to take matters into her own hands. And because she's always second, so she takes matters into her own hands. She decides to seduce the king. After she seduced the king, she's going to marry him. So make him fall in love with her. And once he is in love, she'll kill him and take his kingdom for herself because she wants power that she doesn't normally have. So the story is very interesting to me. It's very intriguing to me, and not a lot of things happen. It's just a lot of pining over the king and stuff. But it's very fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I can see why there's some things wrong with this book, but I don't care. I really like it. And it isn't problematic things with this book. It's just things that some other people can't or won't like, but I do like. This question is fun. I had a tough time comprehending which book I should pick for this one. So the question is, a book that is your guilty pleasure. So I think any smutty book is really my guilty pleasure, that I read. But I picked one in particular, which is Radiant Sin by Katie Robert. This is not a very guilty pleasure. I haven't read it yet, so it could be a guilty pleasure. But I'm not sure how smut-filled this is. But any book by Katie Robert, and then the Neon God series in particular, because it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of smut in it too, especially the first book, let me tell you. So I would seriously recommend these books, and it's my guilty pleasure. I do not talk about them a lot because I'm not ashamed, but I just don't talk about them because there's so much smut in the series. But it's fun. And then the other book, I have another book, is Crave by Tracy Wolff. This is guilty pleasure number 1 because it was just a very fun read. It was just very fun. It wasn't serious. It was the writing style was very amateurish, but I really enjoyed it. So guilty pleasure, here you have it. A book everyone loved, but you didn't. A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime by Monica Murphy. So I do know some people who did not enjoy it, but I hated it. I heard people literally raving about how Crew is so special, so amazing, he's so, And I was just no. How? If Crew is your perfect book boyfriend, look for someone else. Just saying. I'm not judging anyone's bookish taste, but I personally did not enjoy this book and didn't see anything in the characters. I thought they were shallow. There was no depth in it. And it was kind of boring, to be honest. Next question or prompt, whatever prompts. I think it's prompts. Or next tag. Let's say next tag. So the next tag is the book you read the fastest. And the book that I read the fastest, this popped right into my head, was Ignite Me by Terry Muffy. This is the 3rd installment into the Shatter Me series, or Touching Juliet series, whatever you like to call it. I like to call it the Shatter Me series, but I know the official name of it is the Touching Juliet series. So this is the 3rd installment, and this focuses mainly on the romance, and since romance is a huge part of my life, I like to read about it. Focus a lot on the romance. I really enjoyed it. I read it in one night. I think I didn't read it in one night because my mom forced me to go to sleep. But I think I spent most of this, except for the last 20 pages, I think I read around 380 pages in 3 hours. So yeah, book that I read the fastest is definitely this one. A book that deserves more hype. So this was also a tough one because I wasn't sure which book deserves more hype, because basically pretty much all of the books that I read already got the hype because I am like a follower. I'm not a leader, I'm a follower. So I did pick one, and that is not one I have with me right now because it's on my e-reader. It's The Stars We Steal from Alexa Donna. So I have not talked about this book before, actually. I think on any of my channels, really. I do not even remember what this was about, but I remember that I really enjoyed it. I couldn't find the plot of it because it felt like there wasn't any plot. It just focused purely on a second chance romance. And I love a good second chance romance. And I definitely think that this was a good introduction to the second chance romance world. So I really enjoyed that. A book that is becoming a movie or a TV show. So that would be It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is like the basic standard answer to the question, but this is like the only book that I had with me, I think, that is being turned into a movie. And I'm not even sure if that's going through or something. Like, I haven't been on Book Talk since October because I've deleted TikTok. So I'm not even sure if it's going through. Like, I do not have Instagram. I only have YouTube as social media platform. That's kind of sad. But this is not my favorite Colleen Hoover book, actually. Like, I've read better Colleen Hoover books, but this was still like awareness, and I really enjoyed that. And this is supposedly turning into a movie. So the next question is a book you have reread the most. Why I'm saying questions is tags. A book you've reread the most. So that would also be The Shadows Between Us, because I have reread this book I'm pretty sure it was 8 times. I think I reread this book 8 times. And the first time that I read it was back in 2021. This was, I think, like one of the first books that I ever like seriously read. Okay? And I read it 8 times. A book from a genre you don't typically read. So I haven't read this book yet, but I do own it. And it's Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This is not like a genre I don't normally read per se, because it is like a thriller mixed with romance, mixed with mystery, that kind of stuff. But it is set in late 1969. And I'm not a typical fan of historical books. And I do not think this is like an historical book. But this is not typically one I would pick up based on the cover and based on the story itself. But I did pick it up. And I am going to read it for the video. A book that deserves all the hype it gets. Yeah. This was a tough one because I do not give away 5 stars very freely. But now that I think of it, I do think I have a book that I could have picked if that was better. But I'm doing this one and then maybe that other one. Beach Read by Emily Henry. Like, I ate this up. Read it at the beach, and then I went home and I couldn't stop reading. Like, I mentally couldn't stop reading. Like, my eyes were like, because I was addicted. I was on crack reading this book. Like, this book had some kind of crack in it, because it was that good. And then the next book that I just came up with was Binding 13. Like, how didn't I think of this earlier? Binding 13 is like in high school sports kind of romance, because there is some sports in it. And I really, really enjoyed that. That was my first 5-star read in a while. So that's always a good thing. All right, so what is the question? Questions! Stop saying fucking question. Okay, a book you usually recommend when asked, give a recommendation. So yeah, I talked about the Shatter Me series before, yeah? Again, this is one that I recommend a lot, besides The Shadows Between Us, but I wanted to include another book. So Shatter Me is one I recommend because I think this is my second favorite book of all time. I also annotated the shite out of this. Like, I absolutely adore these books. I adore this world. I adore the characters. I love everything about everyone except for one character, of course. This is just like a very I wouldn't say fun read. This book isn't fun. Like, it does deal with some trauma, but not the one I could relate to, so that made it fun for me. So yeah. What I meant by that, by like I couldn't relate to the trauma and that is why it was fun for me, is not because I didn't feel bad for the characters that have went through that trauma, but just I couldn't relate to it. So it wasn't a heavy read for me, but for someone who can relate to this, which chances are low, but for someone who can relate to this would be a much harder read. Also, writing style in this is very unique. So if you like a unique writing style, like nothing you have seen before, this is one I would recommend. A book that has your favorite characters. And then, not this book in particular, but I think like the second book, which is Unravel Me and Ignite Me, which I already showed. Because I do hate one character in this one. Like, I wouldn't say hate, but I kind of despise him too. And then I also love a lot of characters. Like, the children, like one child in this is cute. He's amazing. And then there's more characters, like a witty, funny character that has deep feelings too. And further into the series, we get introduced to even more characters that make it even more interesting. And it's just so truly amazing. A book you wish that you could live in. And now you're expecting me to say Shatter Me, aren't you? But I'm not going to say Shatter Me, because I would die the second that I lived in it, or I would cry all the time. So, a book where I wish I could live in would be Harry Potter. Do not have the first and second book, so I'm just showing you the third book, but this is actually the world that I wished I could live in, like in this book in particular. Yeah, I think we all had the shifting era, you know? If you were a Harry Potter fan, we all had the shifting era. Like, we wanted to shift out of the reality. And I had that one too. This is just, I do not even have to mention, like, I have to explain the plot of this, because I think pretty much everyone knows what it is. Here we are again with these shadows between us. Okay, so this is for a book you thought you would hate but ended up loving. And I literally do not have another book that I thought I would hate but ended up loving. Because I literally thought that I would not like this book. I was like, should I even read it? Should I even start on this? Because I do not think I will like this book. Those were some strong feelings, like I remember now. And I just decided to pick it up, and it turns out all-time favorite book. A book that made you cry. As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the third book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. And I wasn't like crying the whole entire book, but at one part in this book, I was like, I need a break. I was like, I need a break, because it was so tough to see this character going through that. And I know it's fake. I know it's not really happening, but I was still like, oh. Like, I had to remind myself, it's just a book, it's just a book, it's just a book. And I was sitting with my mom, and I didn't want to full on sob, so I kept it inside. But if I was alone, I would have freaking sobbed my eyes out. Like, bawled. I would have bawled. So, As Good as Dead. Really would recommend this series, because I gave first book 4 stars, second book 5 stars. This book is, like, in my top 5 favorite books of all time, 5 stars. And now we have the last prompt, or whatever, or last tag. A book you wish you could read for the first time. That would be The Selection by Kiara Cass. I do have more books that I would wish to read for the first time. I go like The Shadows Between Us, and Shatter Me, but I didn't want to include them once again, so I decided to pick The Selection for this one. And The Selection. Yeah, I wish I could read that again, because the first time that I read it, I had very strong feelings about it. Like, I loved it. I was reading it, I closed the book, and I was like, wow, I want to reread this book again. And I never had that before. Like, I closed the book, and I wanted to open it all over again and start it from the first page again. Never had that with a book, so that was very special, and I never had that feeling again, so that was very disappointing. But yeah, that is why I wish to read The Selection for the first time again. Like, I wish I could go back in time and read it for the first time, because my feelings for it back then were amazing. But yeah, I reread it for the third time, and I didn't really like it. Wow, yo! So those were the books that I wanted to talk to you about. This was the tag. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, that is all I can say basically. So I hope you enjoyed. Hope you're gonna watch more of me. Hope you're gonna enjoy watching more of me. And I'll say goodbye and see you next time. So bye bye.